Hello there, everybody. Darshan Government over here. So I've noticed that over the past couple of years, my ByteFusion page has actually gained quite a bit of subscribers, about 30 subscribers. And I can say that this makes me really excited because it means that I'm actually going to reboot this YouTube channel. And when I say reboot, means I'm going to progress and commit myself to doing it. Now, one thing I just want to make you guys keep notice of is that when I do say that I'm going to release something or I'm going to do something, don't take it as 100% because I do tend to change my mind. I do apologize if I don't send out a message of, and if I don't send a message out there saying that I haven't, saying that I have changed my mind or that I'm going through towards a different path. But over the past few years, I've been involved more in programming and software technology, software development, software engineering. That's been the side that I've been pushing towards. But since this is a ByteFusion channel, I just want you to know that all of that stuff that has to do with programming and all of that, uh, it might be released on this channel, it might not. There's no guarantee. But anyways, for today's video, we're going to react to a video called Scientists Discovered Continent That Vanished 115 million years ago. This is a video that was created by BrightSide. Credit goes to BrightSide for creating this video. I'm just a reactor to this video, so there's nothing. I'm not trying to take anything away from the channel, so that's why I mentioned it in this video. All right, guys, let's begin.
Surprise! There's more than 7 continents on our planet. Argoland, a hidden continent, may help us understand how our planet will look in the future. To find out how it hid from us and what secrets it holds, well, you'll just have to keep watching. Ready for a mystery? Scientists have been looking for a piece of land that's been missing for over 100 million years. Not exactly newsworthy, since people search for information about our planet's history all the time. You'd think it was probably this minuscule island somewhere in the middle of an ocean. Well, you'd be wrong, because this continent used to be as big as the entire US territory.
Okay, so I haven't watched this video prior to this, so I think I'm just going to take a wild guess, right? I think the continent they're talking about is Pangea. Now, from what I know, scientists or geological experts have actually said that they've discovered three different phases before Pangea. So there's been different supercontinents before Pangea even began. So that's quite interesting to know that although we think we know as much as we do in the current situation that we're in, we still don't know enough about the earth, and I think there's so much to discover out there. So this is a really interesting video, and I'm looking forward to what they have to say about this new continent they've discovered.
For a long time, geologists have been wondering whether a massive chunk of contemporary Australia vanished into thin air. Some believed it was simply hiding somewhere on the ocean floor for a while. You'll see they all fit together. Probably the most striking thing you'll see is how South America perfectly fits near Africa.
Yeah, so this is quite interesting. One thing that I think all of you know about is that or maybe you might know about this, but there's actually tectonic plates beneath the continents. And every time the tectonic plates shift, the continents shift, and they can either collide together and create new supercontinents, or they can divide and create subcontinents. So that's just something that I've learned over these years. Yeah, interesting.
If you close up the oceans that were formed in the last 200 million years, the continents look like they form a giant letter C. And that C is what scientists call the supercontinent Pangaea. It was swimming
Yeah, you see what I mean? This is what I was talking about.
in an ocean called Panthalassa, and the inner portion of that letter C had a smaller stretch of water called the Tethys Ocean. It is in this small ocean where things get interesting. Back in the Jurassic period, this vanished continent, which scientists started calling Argoland, vanished and left a hole in Australia, now known as the Argo-Abyssal Plain. Geologists initially believed this was all due to a process called subduction. It's when one piece of the Earth's crust dives under another and recycles it into the planet's mantle. Usually, specialists track this continental vanishing through off-scraping. That's how they figured out, for instance, that India bumped into Asia and gave us the majestic Himalayan mountains. But for Argoland, things were a bit more complicated. It didn't sink or get swallowed up. It simply transformed into an archipelago, breaking into smaller pieces, called microcontinents, and floating away from Australia. These mini continents then took a little journey before settling down in Southeast Asian jungles. This discovery fit right into the whole Pangea puzzle. It helps us better understand how continents break up and make up, all in one discovery, revealing secrets of biodiversity and climate back from in the day. Like, for instance, the mystery.
Okay, so first thing I can say about everything that I've seen so far is that I've actually collected a lot of information, some information about the oceans and stuff like that. I think he was calling it pathol, pathogenesis. I'm not sure what the name of that was, but there's always these big words to describe the ocean. So I think that's one thing that's always been a big mystery to us is like what's in the ocean. Like I think by now we've discovered like 10% of it. People said we discovered 5% of it, but I know we've discovered more than that. Like we have to have discovered more than that. And if you notice one thing about, he was talking about how India had come from Africa to Asia, how it had shifted up that slope. That's kind of interesting. If you actually look at India itself and you look at Asia, it kind of looks like an elephant head, and like the this is quite interesting. And India itself looks like a trunk facing downwards. So these are all things like you sort of map in your head and stuff like that. So that was pretty cool to have seen. I think one thing that was really cool was that he was talking about the way he was giving information about how the different landscapes were shifting in that. I think that can teach you a lot about geological formations and stuff. So yeah.
Behind this invisible species line in Indonesia. It's called the Wallace Line, named after the British explorer Alfred Russel Wallace. Over 150 years ago, Wallace was on a journey around the Malay archipelago, visiting thousands of islands. What he found was that animals on one side of this invisible line were considerably different from ones on the other side. This invisible line is like a wall between marsupials and tigers, for instance, or honey eaters and trogons. But now we know that around 35 million years ago, Australia broke up with Antarctica and collided with Asia. And this continental love triangle triggered significant changes. In more recent times,
Okay, so out of all the continents out there, I'm pretty sure that Australia has the widest variety of animal species, as well as okay, maybe not land animal species, but I think aquatic species. I think Australia just wrecks everyone. Like they have the box jellyfish and all that stuff. So definitely one destination I would like to visit sometime. Yeah.
a bunch of specialists published a study saying this collision and climate chaos made Asian species comfy living in the Malay archipelago. Meanwhile, the Aussie animals weren't as happy with the new environment. It was too hot and wet for some, and others just couldn't handle the tropical island lifestyle. The discovery of this continental shift towards Asia might also explain a recent finding of a human species that didn't seem to make any sense either. You see, in this hidden cave in the Philippines, archaeologists stumbled upon a new human ancestor. It seems that about 50,000 years ago, on the island of Luzon, there was this ancient human like species. The lead researcher believed this finding was crucial for understanding human evolution in Asia, and it named this new species after the island, Homo luzonensis. Now, here's where it gets a bit confusing.
You know, I've always wondered this, right? It's been quite interesting because I try to always take Western stuff and relate it to what Eastern historical historical. I try to relate the two histories together, and I've always had this feeling in my mind that if Hanuman's clan I know I'm going into a bit of religion now, but like, I think that these different faces of like these Homo sapiens and stuff like that with the hair and all of that stuff. I actually have a strong feeling that if we talk about the Vanara clan from that's known to be the Indian religious texts talk about the Vanara clan, and the Vanara clan just so happens to be a clan of apes that have like hair and stuff like that, which is what he's mentioning right now. So I've always wondered, has that been the link between Indian what's the word for it? Oh gosh, I can't really think of it right now, but I think I know what you guys are trying. I know what I'm trying to say. So yeah, so this is all interesting stuff. You kind of have to piece together like how the world was created and all of that. And the best thing we can do is look at the screen and watch other people do it, or we can go out there and discover ourselves. But this channel really brings out a lot of history, and I think it brings out a lot of things that have to do with what's happening in the reality of stuff, and I think that's really cool.
Fusing. The bones found by archaeologists had one small problem. They had a weird mix of traits that hadn't been seen together in any other hominid species. Smaller teeth, similar to ours, yet hands and feet that were more like our ancient humanoid ancestors. It was those throwback limbs in particular that connected this human species with the long lost southern territory. That's because they have this primitive look, like these hard to pronounce guys, for instance. Only these two species are separated by 2 to 3 million years of time in evolution. Many have wondered, is Homo uzanensis really a new species? Not everyone is convinced. Now, just because they haven't changed much during our lifetime, it doesn't mean our continents will look like this forever. They evolved from this large megacontinent, and they'll most likely end up in a similar position in the future. On that note, a geologist from a European university tried to predict the future of Earth's supercontinents. The Atlantic Ocean will disappear, and so will the Pacific, turning into one large stretch of water. Instead of the 7 continents we know today, we'll get a new supercontinent, which he called Arica, because it would have Australia and the Americas at its heart. Now, it's not the only possible scenario, though. Novo Pangea might be another, and it's easy to foresee. The Atlantic stays open and the Pacific closes. Then there's Amasia. For this one, you'd have to imagine the Arctic Ocean closing and the Atlantic and Pacific staying open. Everything shifts to the north around the North Pole, except Antarctica. One final scenario would be called Pangea Ultima. Slow down the spreading in the Atlantic, and a new subduction plate pops up on the Americas east coast. Well, either way, if all the continents collide in the future once more, some say it won't be fun to experience. It's believed that in around 250 million years, we'll feel like we're being trapped in a sweltering, soggy plastic bag. We'll need to be creative if we want to withstand the heat. We should be thankful, though. These digital models are still great because we can use them to test all sorts of interesting ideas. For
Become
example,
a
how these supercontinents
multi-planetary
would mess with time.
human.
Taking future space travels into consideration, these models can help us understand the climates of exoplanets too. Those are located outside our solar system.
Sweet.
That's it for
Yeah, so that brings us to the end of the video. I would say that it was very informative, very they gave there's some I like that they gave 3 theoretical scenarios. I think 4 or 3, I'm not sure. I think it was 3 of different ways in which the different continents will combine together. They spoke about Orica, they spoke about Nova Pangea, and then something else. Can't remember the name, but I think you know what my personal opinion is that like I don't think we'll feel the shift. Like I don't think we'll ever feel the shift, but possibly in the near future. And I know this as a fact, we will become a multi-planetary civilization. Like that's definitely a guarantee, right? Because as humans, we're progressing so much in technology that there's no way that we'll only be on Earth for the rest of that time. But one other thing that we also have to keep in mind, and this is what people talk about a lot, there's so much of circumstances where like what if the sun expands and the whole earth dries out or something happens before that whole phase of the continents coming together. So this channel actually explores all of that, those type of scenarios, and I think that's really good. So kudos to BrightSide, because they really do give you good content. It's not exactly um, it's sort of entertaining, and it's also informative at the same time. So I really enjoyed this video, guys. I hope you did too. For more videos like this, please follow ByteFusion, and I'll see you in the next video. Darshan out.